Okay, so I've got my classroom drawing done, and now I want to use that to set up my template. Yes? Oh yes, I've tried. Let me see, I'll just try again. Still not doing it. Okay, so you might need to restart your computer before I can do it. Yeah. Okay, so again, I've just deleted the things in this file, and now I can save as drawing template, and then go to the folder where I've been saving them. And, well actually I haven't even saved one into this folder yet, so I'll just save one now. And I'm going to call it exercise template. We'll give it a better name later, but that's fine for now. So that's going to give us all the settings up to this point. I really want to get into doing the page layouts next. So if anyone's tried that, again, I'll put those settings into the next template that I do. But I want to start doing some of the drawing for this space first. And so now, of course, we've got the layers already set up. And I'm just going to show you here quickly that we can still change the layer colours without going into the layer properties by clicking on the colour that comes up in the list there. And it's good just to make sure that that's clear, because when you're choosing the current layer from that list, it only works when you choose the name. So if you're clicking to the left on the colour or any of those other options, it's going to change the layer settings. So just make sure you know that, and then again when you want to change the current layer, you can just choose the name. Yep, sure. Yep. Yes, I only can get those layers and the other settings by using that template that I've just saved. Yeah. So here you notice it still says exercise template. So I'm going to close this now and say no, I don't want to save changes, and show you what I should have, which is that to make a new file, I've got to go to new and then drawing and then find that template. So I probably should have said yes to keep the layer change, but I wanted to show you that again anyway. So now again, I've got the layers as they were when I saved the template. But again, I wanted to change the colour of the layer there, just so it's a bit easier for you to see on the screen. So I've changed the colour, and now I'm going to choose the layer name to set that layer that I'm drawing on. And now, again, I'll go a bit faster and just draw in the room outline. So it's, what, 5,000 across by 8,000 the other way. So that's our hotel room. And then I'm going to offset 150, selecting that rectangle and then clicking outside. Right? And then you might be thinking that room at the bottom, also not that room, the wall at the bottom, let's bring up the drawing, that wall at the bottom is thicker. You can see there it's 270, the rest are all hopefully 150, even though this one isn't actually dimension, but we can assume it's 150. So that means this wall is 120 wider than the others. So remember stretch? I've shown you briefly. So stretch is great in this situation. Stretch, and I'm going to click to the right and go to the left. So if you want to try and work with stretch, you've got to remember right to left. And it's the green one. When it's blue, that means you've gone left to right. So right to left gives us that green crossing, and I can cross over the corners that I want to move. I don't want to move the inside corners, just the outside corners. So enter, and I can click my base point and then come down, but notice it's going to any angle. So I'm going to check to see that I've got either ortho or polar, and then I can snap my angles to go straight down and type in 120. And then if you're not sure, you can always check that measurement and you can see that's 270. So there the outside wall's done. Now I'm going to explode, because I know in the exercise it tells you to use that from option to set many of your starting points. I'm not going to use that at all. So I'm going to select this inside rectangle instead and explode it. And now I'm going to offset. And I find this way is much quicker than trying to use from. So offset 2900 from this line to the right. And remember, with offset, you can, this one, it's 3000. That's right. So, okay, so with offset, you can always press enter twice, and that's going to ask you for a new distance. So that's what I've done, and you can see it says, again, specify offset distance. If that's not happening for you, you can always just click on the offset button anyway, and it does exactly the same thing. So I want my next distance to be 100, because that's my wall thickness. Use that line, and again, enter twice, and it'll ask me for another distance. And this one is going to be 3000. And again, clicking on the inside of the wall, coming down, enter twice, and then 100. Yeah, that's it. I find that much faster for setting out rectilinear plans like this than, I mean, it's good to know about that from option. It will be useful sometimes, but here, yeah, we don't really need it. So now we'll use fillet. Get into the habit of checking your radius. You can see there it's 35. So I'm going to type in R, enter, 0, enter, and now I can pick these lines and press enter in between to keep repeating the fillet. So that's our room joined off. Yep. So now we've just got to put in another few walls, and all the walls are done. So offset again, 700 for the cubicle, which is too small for a shower, but that's why they've drawn it, so we'll go with it. 100. And then again the other way, it's 900. So I'm just pressing enter twice in between each of these offsets. Also the shower's drawn wrong, but again I'm just reproducing what's in the drawing. So again, fillet is fine to get this corner, but now I want to trim these lines off instead of using fillet. So now I'll use trim, and I'm going to pick this line as my cutting edge, and then both of these lines as well. So they're my blade where I'm going to cut. Now I'll press enter and simply pick the lines I want to cut back. There we are. So now I want the closet. So the closet, if you look at it, is actually projected off this corner. Okay, so you look at the drawing. So you can see there, from this line here, you can see that that wall lines up, with the corner. So by drawing a line from the corner there across to perpendicular with that wall, and then it sticks out, does anyone remember that measurement? I know it's not on the drawing, but it's in the instructions. I think it was about 800. Is it 9?
No, it's smaller than 9.
Yeah, it's got to be, yeah. I thought it was 8. Pretty sure it's 800. If it's not, we can change it. So I'll just do it 800. So again, offset. So you can see I haven't used very many commands, and mostly offset to get the copies of the lines. So that's it. Trim. I'm just going to choose those 3 lines. Enter. There we go. So now I want to copy this down. So this is a new thing. So I'm going to select these lines going left to right, which is our window, which only selects the thing inside it. Remember? And then copy, click a base point, come down 1500. And again, if you want to check that measurement, it should be 1400 now internal. So that's all the walls. And now I just need to put the openings in. And the door, you can see, is 990 from the corner. Now here you could use from, but I'm just going to click line and then hover on that corner, move to the left, and type in 990. So no from, just using the tracking. That works, but if you're having trouble with it, I'll show you another way. No problem just drawing a line from the corner there up to the top, and then offsetting it. So without using any tricks, that's pretty easy. And So again, offset 900 from there, and again trim. I'll just press enter, cut that, and now I'll just get that last door opening. What is it, 1140? Oh, now I know in the instructions it says 1100. Here, if you look at the dimension on the drawing, it says 1140. So which one do you reckon's right, and which one's wrong? You can assume if you see things like this, the 1140 is wrong, yeah. So what happened when this was being redrawn by someone else, they didn't realise that, and they've included the door jamb. So 40mm is standard door jamb size, so they've accidentally added that, which is a mistake. So it should be 1100. So you can see I've done it 1140, so there's no problem just using offset 40 if you want to bring it back up, or there's lots of different ways, but that would be fine. And so there's my line in the right place, and I'll just use offset again, 900, and bring that down, trim, and there's our next door. And then the windows, again, many ways of doing this, but I'll just do it the same way using the tracking, 1100, and then keep offsetting 1200. Oops. Yep, that's it. And most buildings are rectilinear, in other words, walls at right angles to each other, so this approach works really well for all those sorts of spaces. Oops, now I've gone the wrong way. It's alright, just undo. And 1200. So what happened there, do you know why it went the wrong way? Yeah, and the thing is, I actually had the cursor on the right, but the problem is object snaps on, so it snapped to a point on the left, even though my cursor was on the right. So there's a bit of a trick there, just move it away from any object so it doesn't snap to them. So there I'm clicking to the right, but not on a line or anything. And now I'm going to do one extra thing that hasn't been done in these drawings, which I think is not very good, because I've been talking to you a lot about line weights, and that's one of the most important things, to get your drawings right in terms of the, you know, the conventions. These heavy lines make it, I think, well, it's wrong, but it's also harder to read because those lines should be light to show that it's below the cut plane. So it's really, I think, just not good. I can't think of a better way of saying, but it's really not following the convention, but also, to me, it just reads really badly.
It's also kind of suggesting to the eye that you're within the wall.
Exactly, that's it. Yeah, that's right, exactly. So it's not good practice. So, so we'll trim it first. So using trim, enter, and then just cut those openings. So what I want to get you to think about is the layers you'll need for all of these elements. Up until now, we've just been looking at one way of showing things, but most things are going to have at least two ways. They can either be cut or they can be not cut. So do you know what it's called when it's not cut? If it's behind the cut plane. A bit about things being in projection. So something in projection is below or behind the cut plane, and it's going to have a lighter line weight to show that it's set back from that thing that's being cut. So here, this wall layer, that's my nice heavy line, it's 0.5, that's obviously heavy because it's being cut. So I'm going to make another layer called A wall, P-R-O-J, for projection. So a lot of people would rename this one and make that A wall cut. But you don't have to. You can just assume that if it doesn't say it is being cut. So A wall projection. Above or below, if it's not being cut. Yeah.
Or not below, behind.
Yeah, it can be in front or behind, yeah. So here, the projection layer should always be lighter than the cut layer. So I'm going to take it down to, not my lightest line weight, but at least, say, 0.18 is good. And to make it clear to me on the screen, I'm also going to change the colour to a colour that's basically a lighter version of of the other one. Any of those. Lighter or darker, as long as it's a different tone. Okay, so I'll make that the current layer, and then I'm simply going to draw some extra lines now on that new layer that have my nice light line weight connecting those corner points. And how much better does that read already? Yeah, that's it. Right, so we can tell what's being cut. Do you know what these things are called in an opening? What's the bottom of the window called? Windowsill. That's it. So that what I've just drawn is the sill. It's actually the wall part of the sill. So there's also the frame that's also part of the windowsill, but this is the wall. But yeah, that's good. So that's perfect. You're calling it the windowsill, which is spot on. And so now there's a few furniture pieces and things that you can have with blocks. I'll let you work most of that out, but I'll just put in a couple. So here, going to insert, more options, browse, and the blocks are in, well, there's a few places, but we'll go to the P drive and interior design and AutoCAD library, blocks, and there, I'm sure most of you have found these, but then for the last one, used to be exercise 8, even though now it's exercise 5. So they're in exercise 8 blocks.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So yeah, so that's where you're going to find them, and so I'll just get maybe one of the lounge chairs, and here I'm going to leave that one ticked, and then also rotation, and then I'm just going to click to place it, and then moving the cursor I can rotate it at the same time. Yeah, so I'll just do it again. So again, insert. I'll go to more options. That's it. It's the rotation option. That's it. Yeah. So there we go. And then the one I really want to show you is the bed, because I'm glad I saw some of the other people doing it. The scale is, yeah, going to cause a problem. So I'll go and grab that one. It's the Pilgrim bed, and you can see the measurement tells you where the problem is, because that's obviously in centimetres. You can see it here. See how there it says centimetres and factor 10? That's our problem. So you can, if you turn uniform scale on, you can type your 0.1 in there.
How would you know how to work it out?
Because it tells you,
Just convert it.
yeah, so the factor is 10. So, yeah, that's right. So we're dividing by 10 to get the 0.1. Yeah. Most times you won't have to do that. So I'll click OK, and then I can just place it, and then rotate it if I want to. But if you see that it's gone in too big, you can always place it and then right-click and go to Properties, and then you can type in the scale there. Yeah, and that works too. So I've got a couple of blocks, and then I just want to do at least one. I'll do 2 doors because I want to do the hatch pattern, and then show you what I really want to show you. So I'll get the door. Oh, sorry, the door should be in here already. Yep. So the door, yep, is part of my template, and that's great. So I'll just place it. I'll do it the wrong way. This, you can see, snaps to the midpoint, and we can do it, so on the other midpoint, and then flip it around. So that's good. It's yeah, but that's fine. But that's not actually the main problem. I'll let you do it this way, but do you think this is how? You can probably tell her. Yeah, that's right. So have a look at some real doors. That's right. Yeah. So to do it properly, again, I'm not going to make you do this because it's a new thing. But again, if you look at that door hinge, the door hinge will be there. That means that the door would have to open and would hit the wall here, which is not good. And look at some real doors, like the one in this room, and you'll see. Yeah, of course, yeah. So that's why I keep saying these were done by, someone who's not an interior designer, product designer. So it's good. I mean, you can teach the AutoCAD stuff you need, but it's not following interior design and architectural convention. So So we're just going to fine tune some of those things. This is pretty standard. So if you want to have it correct, it should be moved over to the corner, like you're saying. That's where the hinge should be. Yeah, that's good. If you're having, yeah, that's good. So I'll do the same here, just because I want to get that before I do my floor. So the floor is another one. So I'm going to go to layer properties and then make a layer for my floor and just call it a floor. I know in the notes they might give you a different name for the floor material. Oh, yeah. So it doesn't really matter as long as you have a layer for the floor materials. And I'll leave it on, oh no, sorry, I'll take it down lower than 0.1. I'll make it 0.09 even. I like doing really light line weights for things like this. And then the colour, I'll just make, again, a different colour. Up to you, really, but probably a colour that's not too bright. Okay, so now I'm going to do the floorboards. And anyone who's gotten up to this in the notes, did it give you a setting for the... so I'm just drawing a line here while I'm talking. But did it give you a setting for the hatch, for that floorboard area? I'm sure it would have. So I'll show you that. So I'm going to click on the hatch button up here. And then I'm sure it would have said use one of these like ANSI 31, and then you can put the settings over here. Yeah. That works, but to use those patterns that are very simple, like these that just have a single line that's repeated, and this one, any of those repeated single line hatch patterns, and this one even with the double cross hatch, they of course all work. I'm going to show you a way that I think is a little bit easier and probably better. Over here, instead of using the pattern option, you can try user defined. So patterns, they're all of these predefined patterns that, the guys at Autodesk have made. And there's a lot of really good things in there, so they're great for many things. But if you just want to do a simple crosshatch, like you do when you're drawing.
So it does say on the instructions that the user defined patch, double and 600 for the space.
Oh, it does say user defined. Oh, they've changed it. Good. Okay, yeah. So it used to say this one. Yeah, good. They've changed it. So yeah, so user defined. And then, so I'll do the tiles in a minute. That's the one where you'll need double. But I'm going to start with the floorboards, which is single. So in properties there, you've got that double option, but I'm not going to use it yet. I'm just going to leave it and change the spacing here to, I'm just doing this by, I think it looks like it's about 150. And then I'll make the angle 90. So it's going to give me, you'll see it, so click, there we are. So it's going to give me single lines repeated 150 apart at 90 mil. No, sorry, 90 degrees. So I'm going to click, and it's found that boundary going around my door swing. So I need to just click inside that door swing area to get that as well. Enter. Now, before we can do the bathroom hatch, I'd need to put the bathroom fittings in there, so I'm not going to do that. I'll let you try that. But when you do the bathroom hatch, it's basically the same method. You just need to choose double and then change the spacing. I think it is, was it 600?
Yeah.
Yep, so they're nice big tiles, large format. And then...
And you said to go from the bottom right corner.
Yeah, that's right. So you've got the origin option. So here, you've got set origin. And then you choose this corner here on the bottom right, and then the tiles start from there.
And you just said that you actually put furniture
That's right.
first, and that because you're going to calculate the tile space.
Yeah, you want to go around. Well, no, in reality, you would go under a lot of those things, but we don't want to see that in our drawing. So this is not to calculate the tile area. That's slightly different because you have lots of fixtures, especially, say, vanities, that are going to be suspended above the floor, and the tiles will definitely go under them, but we don't want to see that in the plan. So you want to draw the fixtures and the fittings in first, and then hatch around them.
Did the tiles first, get furniture on top? Isn't that the okay?
No, because, I'll show you. So if I do the tiles first, and then I try to put the furniture on top, it's not going to go around that. So we've got, say, the bath. So the bath is something like this, and there's a block for it, or maybe I'll just get the block. So I go and insert, more options, browse, and find the bath, which is that one. Right, and so I'll just, I should just place it on this corner and rotate it like that, and then I can either move it across or mirror to bring it across, but the tiles don't pick it up. You can adjust them, so if you do a hatch first, you can adjust it, but it's often easier just to delete it and let it find the boundary again. It'll do the hard work, and then it's a lot easier, yeah. So now, if I go to do my hatch, you can see it easily goes around it. So really you just need the, well, I'll do the next little bit. So the vanities, I think they're about 600, so you can offset, instead of, from offset 600 from this line. I'll just change it to my floor layer, even though there should definitely be a bathroom layer for all those things. Trim the line back to the bath. That's just, yeah. And then now that's ready for the hatch, except I need the WC as well. And I don't have any loaded, so I'll just load one. I made a couple of them, but no, most of them are from different places, and yeah. So you've got these, yeah, so WC Pan 002 should be the right one, and there we go. So now I'll just snap that to the midpoint. And hatch it in again, and this time it goes around that as well. I'll just get the origin though.
Is that a shower in the bottom of that corner?
Yeah, it's meant to be. So it's a, oh no, so it's a duct. So it's not a shower.
I'd say completely.
Yeah, it's a duct. It's not a shower. So that's. Yeah. Oh yeah, and there wouldn't be a wall going around it. Yeah. Yeah. And it's in a, I mean, it's getting blocked by the toilet. Now notice how that hatch. Yeah. Yeah. No, exactly. And so yeah, I don't know why I kept thinking it was a shower. So yeah, so here you've got another problem. Notice that it's going into the toilet, the hatch pattern, that little line there. So you can go and try the island detection options to get that to be fixed. Not easily, no. So watch out for that. It can be a problem. I'll show you a couple of ways you can get around it though. If you draw a boundary, so where's the boundary called? This one. So it's gone. I can type it in, but it's one of these buttons here, and I always forget where the boundary. So there it is, under hatch. So if you go and draw a boundary, it's similar to making a hatch. You can go pick points and then pick that shape, and it'll say often this message about it not being able to create like a polyline, but create a region. Yes, that's fine. And it's, there we go, just taking a minute to think. And so there you can see it's got this shape now. There's also a couple of extra shapes that are for my buttons, which I don't need, so I'm deleting those. But the important thing is I've got that shape, which makes it easier to define the hatch boundary. It's just a little thing, but it helps. So now back to doing my hatch. Set origin, and there we go. So it's just a little thing, but some blocks have that problem. But you can fix it always with polylines or regions, which are really helpful with hatches. Oh, one last thing. If you do want to change your hatches, I've got to put the door in, but I'll do that later. Say you decide, well...
Let's say it's a specific bath, and it's just a hatch that doesn't look like that bath.
Yeah.
How do you import that?
Oh, you need to make your own block. Yeah, if it's one that you can't find, but Caroma and Kohler and a lot of the big bathroom manufacturers, they have all of their the things they make available as AutoCAD blocks. Yeah, yeah,
Honestly, just download it from their website.
yeah, yeah,
So whatever has AutoCAD like specs next to it,
Yep.
you just get it from the website.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, so Coroma, every single thing they make, there's an AutoCAD file for it.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's where this would have come from.
Coroma and maybe Reese as well?
Yeah, Reese do. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Reese do. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All the big guys, pretty much. Yeah. So that's most of it done. But then what I really wanted to get onto is setting up your layouts, and that's the last big thing we haven't really gone into yet. So you've got your layout tab, which I'm sure you've all seen, layout 1 and 2. I'll start with layout 1. Don't worry about what's there, because it's all going to be set up. So we've got a page, of course, and we can see some things and zoom and just see how it's working. So then to really understand this and work with it though, we need to know how big that page is. So that should be your starting point. Whenever you go to work on one of these layouts, they're set up for printing. And so the whole point of it is that you've got a paper size that you need to be able to understand and set up. So very first thing normally when you go to a layout is right click on the tab and go to the page setup manager. So it's like your print settings in Word or any other program. So again, really important, right click on the tab, then page setup manager. I've gone past 12, but that's right, we're nearly done. So I'll hit modify. So don't pick anything else, just click modify. So right click on the tab and then page setup manager. So then just click modify and then you've got to set up your printer essentially. So do you remember which one I said to use when you're setting up your pages? Did I tell you? There's a couple actually. So you've got the Adobe PDF. So if you've installed the Creative Cloud on your own computer, you'll have that too. That's pretty good. But then you'll also see further down, Autodesk or AutoCAD is one of the only programs that has its own PDF creator, which is really good. This DWG to PDF works really well, but only for AutoCAD. So I'm using that because I don't want to choose a real printer. Why do you think we don't want to choose a real printer? So we've got all the real printers there. These are the printers that are plugged into our computers.
So that you're not limited, but it's always going to be that printer.
That's right. If you go to another computer, you may not have the same printers, but you'll always have those PDF options. So you can take it to any other computer and have the same print settings. Yeah, it is. It's really helpful. So then you can choose your paper size. Right, so you don't know the paper sizes until you've chosen your printer. Now I'm going to choose what we're using, which is of course A3. If you're ever unsure, A3 is a good standard size. This should be on layout, but check that it is. What to plot should be on layout. Scale, again, should already be on 1:1, but check that. Make sure it's on millimetres, so you should check that first actually, because if it's on inches, it will change your scale. So millimetres first, and then check that it's 1:1, but they should already be set. Plot style table, again, if you're not sure, monochrome is good for most things. And that's it. Leave everything else. Click OK. And now you can see the page size is different to what it was. So I'm going to close this. And I've got a viewport, so the viewport is the thing that lets us see what we've drawn back on the model tab. So anything you draw there, you can keep switching back to it to see. When you draw things on the model tab, they come up in these things called viewports on your page. So I already had a viewport, and you'll have one too.
And does that just save it automatically?
Yep. Oh yeah, it's all linked. Yeah. It's all in one file. Oh yeah, that's good to think about that. Yeah, because not all programs are the same. So I've got a viewport, but I want to show you how to make one from scratch. So firstly, I've got to be in the right mode because it was in model. So you might be thinking, well, that's confusing because I've got the model tab, but on the layout, I'm in model mode or model space. So model space means that you're in the viewport, and if you do things there, if I draw lines, just so that you can see something. So remember, I've drawn those lines in model space, which means it's just like I'm drawing them on the model tab. They're part of that space. Oh, it's really helpful. Sometimes you want to draw on the page. Don't keep adding the things to your plan. Yeah. So you've got those two modes. So you can draw, when you're drawing in model space, in a viewport, it is just like you're drawing on the model tab. But the limitation is that you can only see what is in the viewport. Oh, normally you would. Often you will just go back to the model tab. But there will be times you'll see later when you want to draw it in the viewport. Yeah. So it's really important when you're working in layouts that you can switch easily between model space, working inside the viewports, and paper space, which is on the page. And it's a bit annoying because that button moves. It should always be the last button, but it moves because there are different options next to it. So you've got model and paper, but then you can also just double click. So when I double click on the page, it goes to paper. Double click inside the viewport, it goes to model. And the shortcuts, if you like using shortcuts, it's PS and MS to switch between model space and paper space. So that's really important. And then I can select my viewport once I'm in paper space. Right, so the things inside the viewport live in model space, but the viewport itself belongs to paper space. So I'm on my paper, I'll select that viewport and I'm going to delete it just to show you how to make a new one. So now notice I've got a layout tab that wasn't there before. So, no, because I'm on the layout. So if you're on model, you don't have that layout tab, but once you go to work on the layout, it adds it. And so then on layout, you've got the rectangular button. It doesn't say viewport, it's down here, it says viewports, but you just need to know that and then click on rectangular. And it's easy to make a viewport. When you click rectangular, just click 2 points like you're drawing a rectangle. Yeah. So now I'll repeat that. I'll click rectangular and do another one right next to it. So I'm just going to again click a point and then come down and click a second point to make a second viewport that's going to show basically the same thing. So you can have as many copies of your drawings, and this is where CAD programs become a lot more powerful than, say, your standard graphics programs, where you tend to just draw everything over and over again.
So you don't need to first copy it, like you just do the rectangle.
Yeah, you can copy it. You can copy them. Yeah, but yes, but normally you would just make them again. But yeah, it's good to see you can copy.
So would you, like something like this, yeah? Would you use it for like, I guess, you know, a line, let's say, same, you know, walls, like in the same spot,
Yeah.
You know, like would you use that to like create options?
Exactly. You can, definitely. That's right. So yeah, different combinations of layers. That's what we're going to do right now. So we're going to get 2 floor plans from that one that I've drawn. Yeah. So I've got my 2 viewports. And so that if you remember, you can go to model either by clicking on that button or just double clicking to make it active. So now when I zoom with the wheel, it's only going to zoom in that viewport. But I'm not going to set the size by zooming. I mean, of course, that changes the view or the zoom. But when you set the scale here to 1 to 50, that makes it accurate. But then, remember, if you zoom having done that, the scale, of course, is changing. So you've got to be careful. Once you've set the scale, you generally don't want to zoom. Right, because zooming is the same as scale. So I've set my scale. Now, there's no problem panning because panning doesn't change the size. So you can hold your wheel down to pan and position the plan or whatever's in your viewport where you want it to be. So then I'm just going to click into the next viewport. We don't need to double click or anything because I'm in model space. So you can easily switch between viewports just by clicking. So again, zooming sets the size roughly, but to set it accurately, you use the scale. And then again, pan for now. I'll show you how to line them up exactly later on, but for now you can just do it by eye by panning. So there we are, that's in line, pretty well enough. So I've got two pretty much identical plans, side by side. So the final thing I wanted to show you, we'll come back to do the title blocks later, but just to finish off now, I'm going to click on my list of layers, and then notice you've got, firstly, we'll go through all of these things, because I don't think I've done this enough. You've got the light bulb. So have you all tried that one? No? Oh, okay. So the light bulb turns things on and off. So there, it's my A wall layer. So clicking on the light bulb, all the walls go off. So I know a few of you have done that. The one next to it is called freeze, but you can see at the moment it's got the sun. So the sun means on. When you click on it, it's a snowflake, which means it's frozen. And in AutoCAD, frozen means off. It's not locked or anything, that's a different thing. It's not. So they're just two different ways of turning things on and off. Yeah. And they've got that for reasons, because when you've got big, complex projects, you might have certain things that you want off almost permanently. Right? So that's what you'll use freeze for the things you want off. Yeah, so you might have drawn, so you might have all, say, the engineering details that are in there, but you don't want to work with those. So you freeze them, but then you want to use the on-off controls for the things you're working with. So that makes it easier. So you've got two different ways of turning things, hiding things, really. And it's for management. Yeah, normally for bigger things. But it's important that you know what freezing is, because the next option, you can see the button there that has the little rectangle with a little sun on it. That's another type of freeze. That's freeze in the current viewport. Current viewport. So you can see here when I'm freezing with this one, it's only freezing the walls, or hiding the walls, in the viewport that's selected.
So that's how you were able to get rid of the furniture.
Exactly, that's it.
Whereas
So
the other two, they do both what's in the
that's right, they're global, that's right, they do everything.
Sorry.
Yep, that's it. Yeah, but that size is just, doing too much programming. But yeah, so we've got the furniture on my furniture layer. So if I freeze that, oh no, sorry, I didn't. I've got that on a different layer. But I've got a floor layer, furniture layer, and here this one. There's probably a few. I'd need to go and have a look at the bed to see which layers it's used, and the chair. They're not layers I've made. Yeah, well, it's not that yet. So I've frozen that one. So I must be. Oh yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, spot on. Yeah, that's it. So that's what. So I'll show you that. So that was me being lazy, because I just do this all the time. I put those blocks onto the current layer, and it's good that you notice that, because I didn't. And so when you put a block onto a different layer, you can't always tell just by looking at it, because it's got the colours that were drawn when the block was being made. But you can tell when you select it. Notice how A4 is my current layer. But if I click on those doors, then it shows me the layer they're on. So even though you can't tell by looking at the objects, you still should put blocks onto the correct layer, and you can easily change them afterwards, like I am now, by selecting them and then choosing the right layer. And so I'll do the same with the furniture. Change it to A fern, and now you can see it's already gone, because that layer is frozen in this viewport. So now that's the partition plan, basically. So that's how you can get multiple plans. You can do the same to get the ceiling plans, and all from the one drawing. Yeah, it's a great option. So that's as far as I wanted to go with that. I'll come back to you and go through a few other things, but yeah, that's plenty, I think, for this, unless you've got any questions. And I know some of you are onto the ceiling plan, so maybe I will just point out that if you use the blocks, it should have all the symbols. Which one is it? That's not it. Oh yeah, and also if you're up to doing the room labels, maybe I'll show you that. So these room labels, room block, they will give you the the tags for the room, but they might have to be scaled. Yeah, they're not set up to be scaled correctly, so let's check that. So some of these blocks, like those room labels, they need to have the scale put in here. So in this case, 50, because we're working at 1 to 50. You can see then that's the right size. So that's what you should use for all the room labels for this one, instead of just using text.
We just need to change the spelling.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, as long as you tick uniform, yeah. Yeah, that's it. And so this is showing you a block with what's called attributes. So in other words, things that can be adjusted and made different. So that's going to put the text.
So what does the number stand for?
Oh, it's just an identifier for the schedule.
So they've just numbers things.
Yeah, so see how it's got this finish the schedule and then it's got the numbers there, that's all. Yeah. It's not a standard way of referencing actually, but it's good to see.
Yeah, it's just good to understand.
Yeah, oh yeah, sure. Yep. Yep. So oh yeah, so then the block for the legend. I thought it was here.
So did you just drop that in anywhere? It doesn't matter?
No, yeah, just by eye. Yep. Yep. I thought the legend was in one of these, but maybe not. So did anyone find the legend for the ceiling plans? So the next drawing, right, so you've got this lighting legend. I know where there's another one, but I thought they might have put one in with the with these. But yeah, look, if it's not there, you can go up back to the AutoCAD library folder, and then in there's a few places in
So is this basically the lighting schedule for the whole?
Legends. There should be a Legends folder. Where's that called? Yeah, this is for the lighting schedule. Yep. Yep. So
So we do that, that's good.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Where's
We
the
don't have to
Legends
do
gone?
lighting
There?
from this course? Which I'm-
No, I know they've taken it out. They took that out years ago. I know it was the worst thing. That was the head office guys. Yeah. Yeah. Look, it's basically. Oh, here we go. So I'll just show you this. I'll tell you why the lighting's good in a sec. But yeah, so okay. So if you go to Blocks 2D, there's a Legends folder there, and there are electrical legends there that you can use. Don't worry if they're not exactly the same as the one you've got, but or the one in the drawing. So this electrical legend 1 to 50. That should be the right size, and you can see it's got most of the things you need, hopefully. So just remember, yeah. So if you have a block like that, and you want to just use parts of it and take out other parts, do you remember what you can do? Yeah, just explode it. You can edit them, so if you work out how to edit blocks, you can try that, but otherwise, yeah, easier just to explode it, and then you can take out the things you don't want. We're not going to have bollards in here, and external lights, no darkening, so, yeah, and, so, no, it doesn't automatically, they're just dumb text, it's like in design, so you'd have to go and move it. So, but just, yeah, you can just move it or drag it. Yeah. So again, I'm not worried if you don't get exactly the same symbols as what you can see here. But did anyone find this one? It is there somewhere. You, oh, okay, right. So it might be in there, so you might find the right one. But again, I don't mind if you use one that's slightly different. And I know it's on Moodle as well, so you should be able to find it there. But on the P drive, it's obviously in a strange place, so I have to go searching for it. So I'll let you try that, but here on AutoCAD blocks on Moodle, it's definitely in there. And, or maybe in reference symbols, but one of those folders has it. So that's it. And then, again, you can have a go at getting the selected ceiling plan. So maybe we'll show you one last thing to start on that. So I've set up my page, and now I want to have a new page with the same starting point, rather than doing it all again. On Layout 2, none of that's set up, so I have to set it all up. So a really good trick, right-click on a tab, and if you go to Move or Copy, you can just tick Create a Copy. Okay. So that's it. Click OK, and now I've got two identical pages, and I can change one. So maybe I'll just turn off a layer here. And of course, back on the original, it's as it was. So that should get you started with the setup of all those drawings, and we'll look at doing the elevations later.